TIFIN is designed around creating engaging wealth experiences, and we do that to better financial lives. Now, I know that's a pretty ambiguous statement, so we'll go a level deeper and talk about the how we do that. The way that we do that is really twofold. One is through personalization and wealth, where we're creating highly personalized, highly customized experiences for the investor that works with a financial advisor. And the second way that we do that is through bringing artificial intelligence to distribution in the asset management space. So helping asset managers, and by that I mean ETF issuers, mutual fund manufacturers, those that are generally operating in the public market space and managing money for as their main course of business, to be matched with advisors and investors that are seeking what the asset manager is bringing to market. So those are the two things we do. Now, that's really two sides of the same coin, because if you think about it, on one side you have the advisor community that's looking for personalization and wealth, and there's a lot of learning we bring to that community and a lot of learning we take from that community. On the other side of the coin are asset managers that are seeking to be matched with those advisors, and again, a lot of learning that we can bring to that community as well. In the middle, TIFIN has built this AI layer that creates a better matching exercise between advisors and asset managers. And in creating that efficiency and helping advisors to get to the products that are going to serve their clients, really is how we're driving towards better financial outcomes for investors across the U.S. marketplace and, in the future globally.
The big part of fintech is removing frictions that exist, and you're definitely doing that. You're pairing people up that otherwise would have a difficult time finding each other. Can you talk a little bit about like the frustrations that you saw that you wanted to remove those frictions, and how technology was allowing you to do that? I mean, what were you hearing from people, and what were some of the frustrations with the way things have been, and that led you to this sort of insight to create this?
Yeah, I mean, I experienced a lot of these frictions myself, as did Vinay, who's, the CEO here. And, we both grew up in the asset management space. He ran a hedge fund, and I was at Janus Henderson for over a decade, running the RIA business and running the institutional sales team. And we saw very consistently the frictions that existed between the asset management community and the investor community. And when I say investor community, oftentimes that involves a financial advisor. The reality is a lot of the intelligence, when I say that, oftentimes I mean artificial intelligence, but the intelligence that was being applied to driving investment returns really sat with the asset management community, but wasn't necessarily benefiting the advisor or their clients in a way that it could with less friction in the system. So, whether it was running those teams at Janus, or if it was running a multifamily office, which I did later, or as an entrepreneur, both Vinay and I are serial entrepreneurs and have started and built many companies, both together and individually. We've done so at the intersection of artificial intelligence and investment intelligence, because we've seen a need to bring in, and really in many ways democratize AI in the investment management space to reduce those frictions, to eliminate the need, for example, to have the perfect language to describe what you're looking for in an investment management product. You don't necessarily need to know you're looking for a 2x levered inverse ETF. You just need to be able to say, I want something that's going to do well when markets fall. And so by bringing in things like natural language search, which we've done with our platform Magnify, which is our direct-to-consumer platform, and other technology like conversational AI, we're reducing the frictions that exist between the investor, advisor, and the asset manager community, both which want to be matched with the other in the most appropriate and effective way, right? So advisors want to be able to find the investment products across the 10,000 mutual funds and 7,500 ETFs that exist today. So it's very noisy. They want to be able to find these products efficiently, effectively to serve their clients. And asset managers, they want to speak to advisors where their story really resonates. So that's where TIFIN sits, at that intersection of AI and II, investment intelligence. And by bringing in this machine learning and artificial intelligence, we are effectively reducing the frictions that exist between those component parts of the system, with an eye towards driving better financial well-being, or better, financial outcomes or impact for the broadest group of investors that we can.
When people are asking you about the kind of quality of your data and the caliber of your data and where it's being pulled from and the value of it and those types of things, like what are the typical questions? What are the conversations around that? Because I mean, you're talking about some pretty interesting, you've got a couple different groups involved here. You're able to capture some very interesting first party data. And that's really what's going to drive the caliber of your, machine learning, AI, that type of thing. What does those conversations look like? What are your talking points on that?
Well, we have the ability to capture quite a lot of first-party data across the TIFIN ecosystem. We have both, Magnify, which is our direct-to-consumer platform, which has served, people, CNBC called it Google for investments, for example. And it's served, we've produced over 160 million search results at this point. To put that in perspective, it took us about a year to get the first million search results. Today, we do 1 million search results every 3 days. And so those search results alone drive a lot of data as to what people are interested in, what they're looking for, what they find attractive from an investment management perspective. That's on the B2C side. With TIFIN Wealth, that's our B2B platform. We are pulling data across, really signals. So this is anonymized data across what advisors are thinking from a risk perspective, what they're reading in emails, where they're reading those emails. What the content of those emails is about. This is about inflation. It is about autonomous vehicles. What kind of risk appetite, what kind of financial planning they're doing. And so collectively, we're pulling data from 3.4 million individuals in the TIFIN ecosystem every 24 hours. So every 24 hours, we're pulling in about 400,000 pieces of data. So over the course of a month, it's 100 million pieces of data that we're pulling into our data lake. And we take that and we turn it into signals that are advantageous for the asset management community to be matched to advisors, and they're advantageous to the advisors to be matched with the asset managers that have the products that are most attractive to them. So our data that first party data is very, very robust. Now, oftentimes we're combining that first party data with third party data, which we acquire to enrich the data we already have. And then we work with over 45 plus asset managers today. So oftentimes we're pulling in their data, second party data, to create a real complete picture of investors' needs, wants, fears, values, all real time. And this is something that's new to the industry. With our asset manager platform, which we launched a new version of just a day or two ago, the ability to in real time see what investors are searching, what kind of emails they're reading, really what they're interested in, what their risk appetite looks like. And we can with the asset manager platform, you can see that take shape every 24, 48, 72 hours. So what's going on real time. Now that creates an intelligence layer that's very attractive to the marketplace in helping, asset managers understand what products they should launch next, who they should take those products to, how they should take those products out, what they should say when they show up with those products. When I say products, I mean ETFs, mutual funds, model portfolios, SMAs. In addition, it helps wealth platforms to do things like understand if they have clients that are, for example, mortgage clients, to help them understand how those mortgage clients might work with them from a wealth advice perspective. When do you talk to people that are mortgage clients about their broader wealth? What do you bring up? What do you say? So that is another use case of that platform, and it helps. In addition to that, parts of the market that have been kind of underserved for a while. So we have a number of asset managers that we are speaking with that are trying to engage their retail client base. In some cases, this is $40 or $60 billion that came in 15 or 20 years ago, and these asset managers don't know how to interact or engage with that asset base. So this intelligence layer helps them to understand, how to engage with that group, help them to be more engaged with their wealth, and ultimately drive towards a more productive outcome for them.
You're pulling a lot of things together with this platform. What was, I mean, if you look back about where this idea originated from, like what was the opportunity you saw or the problem that existed that annoyed you enough that you did something about it that got the ball rolling on this?
Yeah, I mean, it really started for us with 55 IP, and that was a company we created to be able to help advisors transition into model portfolios. What we realized is through that process is that technology platforms are going to be the place, oftentimes in the future, that advisors are going to go to accomplish something, manage risk, do financial planning. But in that process, they are going to invest and find investments. So the shift really was, oh man, these tech platforms, this is where this is all going to happen in the future. And so I think back to let's just take video content. And once upon a time, let's take the 80s, movie producers would come up with an idea, produce a movie, and distribute it through theaters whenever and wherever they wanted to. They controlled that distribution. People could see the movie when it came to their town. And so that's frustrating if you live in a small town. Part of my life, I spent in a small town called Hope, Arkansas, where the Clintons are from. And in Hope, Arkansas, we had one theater, and we were like the last people to get the movie, right? So, along come other platforms, in this case, Blockbuster and then Netflix. And so, the ability to access and consume, in this case, video content more easily, improved dramatically. And then, Netflix was really the first to listen to what people wanted from a video content perspective, and then start producing that content. So it's no surprise when they started producing video content, they were the 6th largest producer of video content, and their content's been very successful because they listened and they brought in an intelligence layer. So now we reflect that back into the asset manager space, or in the wealth space. And so traditionally, for really over 40 years, it's all been about those movie producers, in this case, mutual fund producers, ETF producers, model portfolio producers. And they spend $64 billion a year distributing their product. And they were very happy to tell you what you needed. And that may or may not have been what you needed. So I think for us, we looked at it and said, hey, shouldn't it be more than just about 4 boxes, like high growth, low growth, conservative? People come in a lot of different shapes and sizes, and they want a lot of different things. And shouldn't it be fully personalized? And so that was one of the first things we want to do, is bring personalization into wealth. So in 2020, we started 10 different companies that we brought together now under the TIFIN umbrella. And they were all designed around attacking a specific need in the wealth space around personalization. One side of the equation. The other side of the equation is with the asset management community. We said, the asset management community, where I grew up, should be listening to what people want in their portfolios. And so, that's really what we're doing with our TIFIN ecosystem, is listening very attentively, the way that Netflix did, to bring to investors the investment products they need, they want, and they value. And so I think that really was the frustration, is why are the investment managers not listening, and why do we not have personalization like we do in the rest of our lives with our clothing, with our music, with our video content? Let's bring that to the investment management space to drive better financial outcomes.
The personalization thing makes a lot of sense. I'm guessing there are some people who see this, hear about it, they get it, they try it, they use it. Like, who are the biggest fans of it so far? Like, who gives you the feedback of how it's been useful to them? Like, what are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, we hear from our our wealth enterprises that they're able to personalize at scale. And it's something they've really struggled with, because it's difficult for a financial advisor to manage 20 families, much less 40 families or 60 families. And the reality is that space has been faced with fee compression. So these wealth enterprises, and we have clients like Commonwealth, Sanctuary Wealth, and Hightower, they find what we're bringing to market very helpful in personalization at scale, which is important for client retention, conversion rates with new clients, addressing assets held away, addressing second generation. So these are things that they really struggle with, and our technology comes in a very customized format, powered by AI, can help them to personalize at scale. On the other side of the business is the asset manager side of the business. They really struggled with understanding, what's going on in the market. I mean, they get reports 2 or 3, 4 months later about what happened with trends and different themes that are emerging. But historically speaking, it's been a wholesaler-driven model. So the wholesalers are out calling on advisors, and they're doing that more or less cold calling off of lists and just looking for the right match. I mean, it's the equivalent of wandering into a bar on a Friday night and hoping you're going to meet somebody. And what we're bringing to them is a much more efficient and effective matching exercise. It's much more like dealing with dating through a dating platform like eHarmony, which, by the way, has the highest rate of lasting marriages, which is what we're seeking to create between asset managers and investors. But we're doing it through technology, through artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we hear back from our asset managers that this is great because we get data and we have intelligence working with you all at every turn. When we start to market, when the signals are generated, that the people are interested in what we're doing, all the way through to nurturing those folks, providing them more information, and ultimately turning them over to sales, because by the time they get to sales, they really are interested in what we do.
When you look back at your own growth and you think about, what you've done from a sales and marketing standpoint, are there things when you reflect back where you think, I'm so glad we made that decision, I'm so glad we chose to take that strategy, or I'm glad that one's done, that was a tough one? Anything that comes to mind on that front?
Yeah, I mean, we have evolved quite a bit at TIFIN over the last few years. I mean, and I think that there's always learning at every turn. And for us, when we started, we thought we're going to develop these single point solutions for these bigger players like JP Morgan. We sold 55 IP to JP Morgan, and we thought we're going to keep doing that. And what we learned over time is these individual point solutions are very valuable in collection. So they have their own intelligence layers, but when you bring them together, there's a lot more intelligence that's created across the ecosystem. So we didn't see that to begin with. And we brought everything together. We said, wow, we've built this platform now. This is before the asset manager platform existed. We built this amazing wealth platform that's very intelligent. We built this direct-to-consumer business called Magnify that has got this incredible machine learning capability. All the AI has been built from the ground up. And it's learning across hundreds of thousands of searches every single day. So it's very intelligent around investments, and has these capabilities like CNBC called one of our capabilities, which is our conversational AI capability, Magnify Personal. They said it's like Siri or Alexa went to investment school. Great, right? So basically now what? And so that was a point at which we said, these platforms are generating a tremendous amount of data. TIFIN is truly a data company that's powered by artificial intelligence, right? And so that there was more learning there, and that was the impetus for us to start pulling this data into a data lake and ultimately shaping the asset manager platform, which I believe is bringing a very attractive series of intelligence to this financial services community that's never been done before. And so I think it was more about the learning than mistakes. I mean, we made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I think that each one of those mistakes really is just disguised as learning, or it's learning disguised as a mistake, however you want to think about it. But that's been the journey as we charted it from 2019 to 2022. That's just continuing to press into the market, learn what's working, what's not working, and think bigger about how we can bring these together to drive more impact.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, to me, it's like, it's not a mistake. The only mistake is not learning from the mistake, right? It's fine to do that. Just you got to get that lesson out of it. Whenever with each of these initiatives, and you're starting to talk with prospective customers and listen to them and try to understand, are you building something that fills a need? And you're kind of switching gears from conversation to conversation and use case to use case. Do you feel like there's a lot of commonality in the kind of the value prop and sort of the messaging that you go into those conversations with? Or like, how often is it like, okay, I need to put on a different hat because I'm talking to this audience? versus there's a lot of commonalities no matter who I'm talking to, because you are talking to, in some cases, three distinct audiences that you kind of need to represent.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, our audiences are, advisors, the investors that work with those advisors, and then asset managers that work with advisors on behalf of the investors. So there are three distinctly different audiences here. The reality is there are many common things that those three constituents are struggling with. One is how do we collect data that's clean enough for us to be able to use it, right? That's sort of the first thing. How do we do that in a way that is respects all privacy laws and regulation? How do we then take that data and make it actionable? And then how do we execute against what we've made actionable? And the reality is these are firms that are designed around wealth management and asset management. And so they're not in the business of building technology, creating wealth management practices, hiring data scientists, generating large chunks of actionable, clean data. And so that's where we come into play, because we can help them with all those things, and I think that's very common across all of our constituents, that everybody is struggling with those things. And the individual investor is just saying, how can I get personalization? How can I pay less and get higher returns? How can I drive impact in my portfolio? How can I align my portfolio with my value system? And all these things can be done through intelligence and data. And we're coming into those conversations very consistently, hearing we have data, we buy data, we don't have data, we'd like to have data, or we have data, but it's not actionable. So where we come in is we say, we can create actionable data, we can help you execute against it. And that's a welcome discussion.
Just to nerd out on AI for a second, are there technologies or AI applications that you have in place right now where, sometimes the first time you see it used, it's like, wow, this is incredible. Are there pieces of that where the first time you saw it in use, you're like, wow, I can't believe we're doing this? Or maybe even still today, you're like, it's still crazy that we can pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done probably, four things I can think about that, and I think are just transformational, right? The first was natural language search in the investment management space. If you went to Google today or 5 years ago, and you type in, give me cheap ETFs and technology, you're going to get all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's not Google's fault. Their algorithms are great for a lot of things, but not so good when it comes to matching around technology-driven ETFs. And so natural language search was the first one. The second one, which we have at Magnify today, and it's a big part. Our ontology is a big part of driving everything that we do, and it's very robust today. So if you type in AI, it knows you mean artificial intelligence, not the ticker symbol AI. And during COVID, I remember March 12th, if you typed in Corona, it would give you a beer, Corona beer. By March 15th, it would give you ventilators, right? So that's powerful for investors, self-directed investors, and advisors. First thing. Second thing is that conversational AI-driven exchange. So to be able to say to a platform like Magnify Personal, how's my portfolio doing today? Give me some market insights. I have $1,000 to invest. What should I invest in? And to have the AI come back and say, well, your portfolio is down by 2%. Technology stocks are off by 5%. Would you like to look at some technology stocks with your $1,000? Pretty cool. And pretty transformational. And so, we have thousands of people who are using that today to monitor their portfolios, to gain insights, and ultimately to trade with this intelligence layer we're bringing to the marketplace, very broadly. So I think that's the third thing, or excuse me, the second thing. The third thing would be with the TIFIN Wealth platform. We have created in one container 10 different capabilities or point solutions in one place. So that's kind of cool. You got risk right next to planning. That's great. I mean, because typically for financial advisors, they have to log into a risk platform to get a risk score, and they log out, and they log into a planning tool, and they work through a planning exercise, and they log out. They may log into a financial personality type. A lot of people don't, but that's part of our capabilities at TIFIN Wealth, because every individual is different from their financial personality style. The cool thing is we've brought that into one container where you can layer all of those things in: financial personality, planning, risk, giving, and all of that can inform the structure and design and implementation of a portfolio in one place. That's pretty cool. So I think that's something I'm really excited about. And then the fourth thing would be, what we've done with our asset manager platform and just bringing in this really powerful intelligence layer to help to match advisors and asset managers more effectively, through machine learning. The data lake that we've built, the asset manager platform that we've built, which brings in a tremendous amount of data every 24 hours, something like 400,000 to 500,000 pieces of data, that creates a better matching exercise between advisors, investors, and asset managers. And what does that really mean? It means for investors that they're more effectively matched with an asset manager capability, and they might be able to reduce fees, generate more returns using our intelligence layer, right? And ultimately that drives better financial well-being for these investors, which translates in to the ability to pay for college, to meet an unexpected medical bill. I'd like to think the knock-on effects are, if there's less financial pressure in a home, there's likely less child abuse, maybe a little less alcoholism, maybe less drug abuse. You think about health and wealth. Those are the two most important drivers in most people's lives. And so Apple's been focused on health. We're very focused on wealth. And, I think you generate wealth through investing, not necessarily savings, through investing. And so that access to investing in a way that's much more approachable, because you feel like you're confident, because you have intelligence that's helping you through the process, is really what we're driving every day at TIFIN.
Well, you're touching on what I think you're going to say next in this answer, but you guys have been, you've seen a lot of success already, and you've got more on the way. I mean, you guys are not done yet. It sounds like there's a lot of things in the works. But what's been the most rewarding aspect of this to date, or what are you sort of foreseeing as like the thing that you're working towards on that? It sounds like you're touching on it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that, as we've taken this journey, there are steps to this journey. And in the beginning, it was very rewarding to have a shared vision with our investors who said, we want to be a part of driving better financial well-being, leveraging AI-driven data capabilities to do that. Then once we took those investments and we started to build what we're building today, it's really the second part of that is the talent that comes in. And we've gone from, maybe a dozen people to over 300 people in the last 2.5 years. And so I continue to be humbled by the talent that joins the team, that's motivated by the purpose and the impact to serve that broader investor community and create better financial well-being through the technology we're building. That's been very rewarding to see the talent come in. The next piece would be, people showing up and using our technology, right? So, as we've gone from, generating 1,000 search results a day to, now 400,000 or whatever it is, as we go from there to generating 1 million, 2 million, 10 million search results a day, and working with 10 financial advisors to now working with over 300 financial advisory firms. That's really rewarding. And then if you just take a step back from there and say, okay, cool. So how many financial lives are we impacting today? Is it 1 million? Is it 5 million? Is it 10 million? I don't know. I don't know the answer precisely, but I'd like to think it's, probably 5 to 10 million households today. How far can we take that? Could it be 100 million? Could it be 1 billion? Sure. And that's exciting, right? And so that's where we're going. And what does that look like for TIFIN? it looks like being able to move, and we're doing this right now, moving to the at-work space. We're working with these big incumbent players. We have investments from folks like JP Morgan, Hamilton Lane, Franklin Templeton, that are working with clients that are big, let's just say technology companies like a Google, for example, where they're providing 401k services, emergency savings plans, doing student loan financing, right? So that at work space is a big area of focus for these incumbent players, but oftentimes they lack the technology that's incredibly attractive from a UI, user experience or UI UX perspective, and we offer that to our partners and our clients. And so that's a whole segment of the market that we're going to be able to help reshape over the next 6 to 12 months. That's exciting. Because we're meeting people where they are at work. You don't have to come and spend time with an advisor. The advisor and our technology is going to show up and help you with your emergency savings plan, or your 401k plan. And these areas of the market have huge opportunity for improvement. With 401ks, I mean, it's less than 50% of folks that are invested in a 401k actually make investments. They just keep their money in cash. So they're losing out on this huge opportunity of tax deferral because they're afraid to make a decision on what to invest in. So by bringing TIFIN's technology into the mix here, into the equation here, we can help those individuals have self-confidence, make an educated investment with the guidance of an advisor, of course, but in a way that's going to significantly impact those lives. So, I don't know that there's any end to my excitement as to what we can do in this space, especially with the right partners like we have with Franklin Templeton or Hamilton Lane or Morningstar. We have an amazing relationship with Morningstar because there's so much to be done in this space.